Oh man, I'm excited. What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of the MiraCLE podcast, and happy Victory Wednesday. I can't believe we won that game. I mean, I can believe it because I thought we would, but to play as well as we did and, dominate that game as much as we did was real fun. And it's about time that we had one of those games. So Browns versus Ravens. Browns win 40-25. Nick Chubb runs for 165 yards and 3 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield throws for 342 yards, a touchdown, and 1 interception. And then Jarvis Landry had 8 receptions for 167 yards. That was just an all-around great game. And the defense also finished with 2 interceptions and 1 fumble recovery. I mean, we finally looked like the Cleveland Browns that everybody expected us to look like when the season began, and even before the season began. I mean, to struggle the way we did in those first few games and then play like this against a really good Ravens team to take first place in the division was clutch. I mean, the play calls were really good from Freddie. Baker looked fantastic. I don't necessarily think the interception was his fault, so I'm okay with that. We finally did what we were supposed to with Nick Chubb, which is give him the ball 20 times a game, and look what happens. Against the Ravens, who are ranked 3rd in rushing defense. So to see him finally get used as much as he should be used and as much as he should have been used those first 3 games is awesome, and we need to keep that up. I mean, of course you don't want him to get hurt, but having a good run game and establishing the run with Nick Chubb, who's a great running back, is just going to set up Baker for even more success in the passing game. So one thing that I thought was weird actually though is we're 0-2 at home and 2-0 on the road. Now, I don't know if that's because, and I mean, it's only 4 games, so it's not much to look into, but I just thought it was interesting. And I think it's more so the fact that we bounce back after a loss, and those bounce back games just so happen to be on the road. But I think it's something to look out for. I mean, we're on the road this week against San Francisco, so I'm not going to complain too much about it for now, but it would be nice to get a win at home for the fans. So hopefully we can do that. We're at home next against Seattle on October 13th. So not this upcoming game, obviously, but the week after. So hopefully we can win against another really good team at home. But, let's just worry about the 49ers right now. Like I said, Baker looked really good. He looked like he did it. He looked like he did last season. He was making good throws. Again, the interception I didn't think was his fault. That was kind of, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. It was half and half, I'd say, because it was a bad pass in double coverage, a tight pass, which, he's made those millions of times before, but it's the NFL, and you can't make them all the time. But at the same time, Jarvis Landry kind of gave up on the play, so whatever. I'm not worried about it. He looked good. He threw for over 300 yards again. He was making good passes, multiple reads. He just played a good, complete game of football. And then it also helped that Freddie looked like Freddie from last season, and he was calling really good plays. And oh my goodness, I cannot believe that Ratley dropped that pass from OBJ. Oh my goodness, that would have been sick. And I'm sure everyone is on board with me for that one, but man, that was so cool. And now it can't even really be a highlight because he dropped it. Just went right through his hands. But whatever, I guess that's what you're going to get with a second-year wide receiver who's technically 5th on the depth chart and our last option. But we get Callaway back this week after being suspended for 4 games, so maybe he can catch those types of passes. However, I am really worried about Jarvis Landry because he's in the concussion protocol. And as we all know, The concussion protocol lasts for weeks, basically. I mean, if you're in the concussion protocol, you're most likely out for at least 2 games. So clearly, the Browns cannot catch a break. I mean, they did because they beat up on the Ravens a little bit, but as soon as we get Callaway back, we're losing Landry. And to be honest with you, I don't like that trade. I would rather have Landry, especially when he goes for over 160 yards. And I don't think Callaway's capable of that. But I suppose OBJ is, so maybe he'll get the ball a little more. Or maybe we just get Landry back. Maybe he's not even in the concussion protocol for that long. I didn't see the play that took him out for the rest of the game, so maybe I'll have to look into that and see if I can analyze what happened. But I hope he comes back. But I don't plan on it because, again, the concussion protocol is ridiculous. I mean, you have to be safe, so I shouldn't say it's ridiculous. You have to be safe. You have to protect the players. But I feel like sometimes they keep him in there for way longer than they need to. So I don't expect him to come back. But that's actually a thing to point out, not so much with Landry, but while Landry did go off, obviously Odell, he caught the ball, twice for 20 yards, I think? So, I mean, and it's not that, I mean, we won the game, right? So I don't care. I don't care who gets the ball, whether it's Landry, OBJ, Ratley, Higgins, Callaway, whoever. I don't care who catches the ball, but I do care about keeping Odell happy. And if we're only getting him the ball twice a game, then I don't know. I mean, you got to get him the ball somehow. 1, because he's a playmaker, and 2, because you want him to be happy. You don't want him to get frustrated, especially when he's a very temperamental, emotional player, as we all know. And I'm going to get into that whole Marlon Humphrey fight in a bit. But, if Landry is out the next game against San Francisco, then I would expect OBJ. I would expect OBJ to see the ball a lot more. And even if Landry does play, law of averages says that Odell's not only going to catch the ball twice, he's going to catch it a lot more. So I think we'll get him a little more involved next week. But for the Marlon Humphrey thing, the Ravens tweeted out. They made a tweet, and it said whatever it said. It was a caption about how Humphrey didn't choke Odell, and then they posted a video. And the video, unfortunately, did not look too good for Odell because all Marlon Humphrey did that entire time was grab him by the jersey. He never choked him out, which it looks like he did, but he didn't. If you watch the video they posted. He was just grabbing his jersey, shoving him into the ground. And for the most part, Odell started it and initiated it, and it was his fault, which I kind of hate to say because obviously I'm on his side and I support the Browns. But I try to be fair and objective when necessary, and that video was not good. That video did not do any good for Odell. It rightfully made him seem like the bad guy. So I'm not too mad about that anymore. I'm mad that I'm a little upset that it was OBJ's fault, but unfortunately, he was in the wrong, and that's the way she goes sometimes. I'm not going to support someone just because I'm on their side. You got to call people out every now and then. So that's what I'm doing. But it is what it is. Like I said, on to the next one. Not concerned about it anymore. I'm sure there might be fines here and there for those two. But, what can you do? I think that about does it for the offense. Oh, you know what? No, it doesn't, because I don't think I talked about the O-line. I keep moving away from the mic. I need to stay still. I'm really fidgety today. But the O-line played their best game of the season. I think they only gave up 1 sack. Baker looked really good and really comfortable in the pocket. He wasn't moving around too much. And even if he did scramble, he kept his eyes downfield. He did what he did last year, and most of the time when he scrambled, it was because no one was open. No, it wasn't necessarily too much pressure or bad blocking. It was just he was in the pocket for too long and no one was open, so he kind of had to make a play. So, I mean, obviously, this was the offensive line's best game. They looked great. Maybe they're finally starting to gel. We got Chris Hubbard back, so maybe that had an impact. I haven't been too high on him so far this season, or since we got him a few seasons ago, really. But he's looked okay, or he at least looked okay this game. And the offensive line did as a whole. And it's also nice that no one got hurt on the offensive line because, one injury to the offensive line and we're already exponentially worse than we were before. So it's nice to see them stay healthy each and every game. And it's nice to see them play well and protect our quarterback, which is what they're paid to do. So that was that does it for the offense. But that was the last point I was going to make because they just played so well. Everybody played well. I said that a million times already, and I'm going to say it throughout the rest of the podcast because it's true. But onto the defense. I mentioned it already. We were without 3/4 of our starting secondary. We finally got Demarius Randall back. He, of course, played great. Got a sack on Lamar Jackson, which is not easy to do, especially after he missed the first time and then ran back to get him on the second try. Mac Wilson continues to play really well, filling Christian Kirksey's shoes. But because Christian Kirksey's out, it was I was kind of taking some notes the other day for this game, and I was trying to think who our third linebacker was, and then I realized we don't really have one right now. I mean, Adarius Taylor plays every now and then as the strong side linebacker, and of course we have rotational guys in there, but for the most part, it's just Mac Wilson and Joe Schobert out there, and we're running 5 DBs with Eric Murray being our fifth guy. So I thought that was interesting to be running that the whole game, and I guess most of last game. I didn't notice it last game because I wasn't really thinking about it, but we didn't have a third linebacker, and we played really well. And that's especially interesting when you consider the fact that the Ravens are a running football team. So to be without one linebacker, you would think that we would be at a disadvantage, but clearly not. Clearly it worked. And it technically worked against the Rams too, but we lost that game because of our offense. So there's not much you can do about that. So, of course, I'm happy with this game overall, as most people should be. There's not really much to pick at. And let's just get prepared for the 49ers. It's bittersweet because I love these primetime games because it puts the Browns on a national stage. And, that's cool and all, and I like it. But there's two problems with that. One, if we lose, especially like we did against the Rams, then you kind of embarrass yourself a little bit. And it puts us, in previous seasons, if the Browns lost all the time or they played really bad, nobody really saw it except Browns fans and fans of whatever team we were playing that week. We could kind of be bad in peace. But now if we're bad or if we lose or we play a terrible game, then everybody sees it. So it's bittersweet in that way. And then it's also bittersweet in the way that, I don't want to wait until Sunday night to play a football game. I don't want to have to go through my entire Sunday to see us play against the Rams. Because then I'm just stuck watching random football games all day, which is fine. I love football. And plus it has fantasy implications because I play that for some reason, even though it stresses me out and I hate it. But I still watch them. Regardless, though, I don't like waiting until Sunday night to play a game, and I especially don't like waiting until Monday night to play a game. So I'm going to be going crazy these next 5 days. And Thursday night's arguably worse because then you play and then you don't play again for a week and a half. So, and we have one of those games coming up. But I think after this, the only primetime game we have left is against the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. We have, Seahawks 1 o'clock, Patriots 4:30, Broncos 4:30, Bills, Steelers Thursday Night Football. Yeah, so we only have For some reason, I thought we had 5 primetime games this year. But I guess we only have 4. So this is our last one until November 14th when we play the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. Dude, I want a Thanksgiving football game. So Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, and it's not even particularly close because I love the food. I love seeing all of my family at the same time instead of, because for Thanksgiving, usually I do things with all of my family and not like one side of the family and then the other side of the family. So I see everybody, I love the food, and I love Thanksgiving football. It's the absolute best. It's the best regular season game every year. Or best day of regular season games every year, rather. And I just want one. And I was hoping that the Browns would have enough hype behind them and enough popularity this year that they would get one, but that is not the case. So I'm fingers crossed for one fingers crossed for one in the upcoming years, but that would be awesome. And we play the Steelers a week before Thanksgiving, I believe. But anyway, I don't even know. I got so off track. I don't even know what I was originally saying. Just these primetime games, I think. Yeah, they're tough. I guess that was the whole point I was trying to make. But again, I got so off track. I don't quite remember what I was saying. But we'll move on. With that win against the Ravens, the Browns are obviously in first place in the AFC North. They sit at 2-2 with the tiebreaker over the Ravens, who are in second place at 2-2. Steelers are in third place at 1-3, and the Bengals are in fourth place at 0-4. They are still looking for their first win. So all that's left to do, I guess, for the Browns is talk about the Monday night game against the 49ers, who are one of 3 undefeated teams left in the league. The Chiefs at 4-0, the Pats at 4-0, and the 49ers at 3-0. They had a bye week this past week, which is why they only have 3 wins. They look good. I haven't watched too much tape or highlights from them, but they look good. I mean, it's not like it's a fluke 3-0 like sometimes the Bengals will get, and it's not like they've played terrible teams. At least I don't think. But I think we can beat them. I think we can handle them pretty well. We'll pressure. What is the matter with me? We'll pressure Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, enough. Kind of get him to be uncomfortable and make some mistakes. And as long as our offense plays like it did this past week against the Ravens, I don't think we'll have an issue. I mean, we are going into San Francisco, and they're coming off of a bye week, but we'll also have 8 days to prepare for them. So I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a fun game to watch for Monday Night Football. If both of us were playing terribly, then obviously it wouldn't be good, but the Browns look good. They played a great game this past week. 49ers look good. So I think it'll be a fun game for people to watch. But, of course, I think we'll win to move to 3-2 and stay in first place in the division. I want to see who the Ravens play this week. Because, obviously, if they go 3-2, then we're still in first place because we have the tiebreaker. Oh, they play the Steelers. So I think there's a good chance they win that game. Which means we gotta match them. It's not a matter of, just beating the Ravens in the division and then we can coast. No, I mean, they're a good team and they're still going to win a lot of football games. So you have to stay with them every single week. And I expect both of those teams, the Browns and the Ravens, to go to 3-2 this week. But we'll stay on the Browns. As far as the 49ers go, I think we'll win Monday Night Football 30-13. 30-13 seems like a good prediction for that game. So now moving on to the Around the League segment. We're going to take a look at some of these games because I'll get into my Week 4 predictions in a second, but this was a crazy week in the NFL. I think there were a lot of upsets, a lot of games that probably did not have the outcome that most people expected. And again, as far as my record goes for predictions, I did not do well either. So one of the major games, obviously, is the Rams losing in a shootout to the Buccaneers, 55-40. I didn't expect that, and I guarantee most people didn't. I don't know what happened. I mean, they were at home too. That was just nuts. So that's interesting. I don't know if that was just. I mean, it was probably a fluke in the grand scheme of things, but maybe the maybe the Rams are falling apart. I have no idea. I mean, they almost lost to the Browns last week. They did lose to the Buccaneers this week, and it's not even like they lost to the Buccaneers by a couple of points. I mean, it was technically a close game, but how do you let the Buccaneers drop 55 points on you? I mean, that's crazy. They're the Buccaneers. They're not that good, I don't think. But that's just nuts to see. So that means that brings the Rams to 3-1. So they're no longer undefeated by way of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What else do we got? The Eagles beat the Packers. I guess that's not totally an upset because, Packers were undefeated. The Eagles really desperately needed to win, and they played well that game. They took care of business on Thursday night, won by 7. That Chiefs-Lions game, though, that was so good. I mean, so I'm going to sound like a bandwagon fan when I say this, but the Chiefs have always been my second favorite team in the NFL, typically. I mean, the gap between the Browns and anybody else in the NFL, in this case the Chiefs, is just so big, so it's not like it really matters. But for a long time, pretty much since I started watching the Browns, the Chiefs have always been like my second team to watch. So I promise you I'm not like really a bandwagon fan. They just so happen to be good this year and last year and probably the next few years. But so that was fun to watch. Of course, I wanted to see them win. But the Lions played great, man. I mean, they look good. After that game, I think the Lions have a really good chance to make the playoffs and like go deep into them. I mean, they looked good all around, offense and defense. I mean, of course, the Chiefs are going to drop at least 25 points a game, which they did do. But it took a 2-minute comeback for them to win. I mean, it took a comeback. It took a game-winning drive in under 2 minutes for them to come back and win. So that was nuts. And I think if they played again, the outcome would be similar. It would be a close game. So they're just looking like a really good team in an already stacked NFC North division. And oh, by the way, in last week's episode, I said that the Lions were 3-0 and it was going to be a battle of two undefeated teams. The Lions were 2-0-1, and right now they're 2-1-1. So I forgot that they had tied against the Cardinals, which, seems like a bad thing, but it was also week 1, and I take week 1 games with a grain of salt. So they were 2-0-1. They're now 2-1-1, and they barely lost to the Chiefs. And one more thing about that Chiefs game, the Chiefs scored on a fumble recovery and brought it back for a touchdown. Some people are mad about that because they think the play should have been called dead or that's what it should have been ruled initially. But being a Browns fan and having that happen to you multiple times where they blow the play dead early and they don't let it play out and it ultimately ends up screwing us over, I'm totally okay with that. I was actually talking with somebody the other day about that specific play because he was upset that it happened. He's like, yeah, it's the right call, but I'm upset that it happened. And I'm like, I'm not upset that it happened at all. That's what the referee should do. Because if you call the play dead and they end up taking it back, then you're screwing them out of a touchdown. But if you let it play out, then you have the option of either letting it stand and the touchdown stands, or you can just reverse it and say he never fumbled and they get the ball, whatever team gets the ball back. And he was like, okay, well, yeah, but what if you can't tell? What if the original call is that they ran it back for a touchdown and you can't tell that he fumbled? And I'm like, well, in this case, you could. You could see that it was like out of his hands on his way down to the ground. And that's how it's going to be 99% of the time. More often than not, you're going to be able to tell whether or not he fumbled the football. So that's the right call, and it made me really happy because typically referees don't do that. Maybe it's just against the Browns that they blow plays dead early, but it made me happy to see that not all referees do that in all NFL games. So it was just from an objective fan standpoint, I think that was obviously the right call, and it made me kind of feel good about the officiating, I guess. So that was just a point I wanted to make. But we'll go through the rest of these Week 4 games. Where are we at? Bills and Patriots game was pretty close. Patriots won 16-10. I think that came on after the Browns game, perhaps. I remember it came on like an extra little thing at the end of one of the games because it was close. So, Bills look good too then. I mean, only losing by 6. Apparently the Patriots they've only allowed 1 touchdown though on defense, which is interesting. And I also think that they're the number 1 ranked defense right now. I didn't think they were that good. So I'm going to have to start paying attention to that more because we play them soon. We play them in a couple of weeks after our bye. So and we're on the road too. So we got to get prepared for that. I don't expect their defense to stay number 1. I think it's just a matter of the teams they've played, like the Dolphins and the Jets. But nonetheless, their defense is in first place, and they look good, as always. So, but that was a close game against the Bills. And I guess that about does it for like the upsets. Jaguars beat the Broncos 26-24. Gardner Minshew still balling out, still a god. So that's really cool. Then you have the Saints beating the Cowboys by 2, close game. I did not think the Saints were going to win. And the Steelers blowing out the Bengals 27-3. Dude, it was awesome. I was down in one of my fantasy leagues. I was down by 16 points. I think like 16 and a half points. And the only player, I guess, that I had left to play in my starting lineup was the Steelers defense. That they were the only people that I had left to play. So I needed the Steelers defense to score me 16 and a half points to come back and win this thing. And they got 18. Oh my gosh, I can't stop burping. They got 18 points. And I won the game. And that was hilarious. I almost took the Bengals defense too. I was looking at the waiver wire, and for me it was like, okay, both these teams kind of suck. I feel like it's hit or miss with either defense, but I'll just take the Steelers because I think that's the better choice, like barely. I took the Steelers, and then I almost went back and took the Bengals defense. And taking the Steelers defense got me 18 points and won me the game in incredible comeback fashion. So I never thought I'd be saying this, but thank you, Steelers defense. And I wanted to root for the Bengals too. I wanted to root for the Bengals because I hate the Steelers, obviously, and I never want to root for them, but in this case I had to, and they won me a game. So I have to say thank you to the Steelers defense. Now that might be the last time I'm ever saying that. I'm going to drop them after this week most likely, but I appreciate it nonetheless. I needed that win. I'm in 2 fantasy leagues. I can barely handle 1 because I hate it. So handling 2 is work sometimes, especially when the records are all messed up and there's a different number of players in the league, and I'm not cut out for it. But whatever. So after all those games, there were 15 games in week 4 because the Jets and 49ers were on a bye week. I went 7-8. I got a lot of them wrong. Let's go through the ones I got wrong. So the Eagles-Packers, I thought the Packers would win, and they didn't. Titans-Falcons, I thought the Falcons would win, and they didn't. They kind of got beat up on. Raiders and Colts, I thought the Colts would win. They lost by 7. Panthers-Texans, I thought the Texans would win, but somehow the Panthers won again without Cam Newton. They look better without him than they did with him. So I don't know if that says anything, but nonetheless, they're 2-0 with Kyle Allen. So we'll see what happens in the weeks to come. Buccaneers beat the Rams. Obviously, nobody expected that. Vikings and Bears, there's definitely I said Vikings would win. They lost to the Bears 16-6. I'm sure most people said the Bears would win. I just didn't think that the offense was good enough. And Mitch Trubisky got hurt. He got hurt in the first quarter, I think. And then he went out, and the Bears still somehow won. So it's just, a credit to their defense, which is insane. So I guess that's what won it for him. Plus, Kirk Cousins looked terrible and didn't help out my boy Adam Thielen at all, who's been on my fantasy team every year for like the past 3 years because he's amazing in PPR. But, I think it was, the Vikings defense, I mean, they only gave up 16 points, but they also gave up 16 points to a Bears team without their starting quarterback, who isn't that good to begin with. So I think, the Vikings just didn't play well at all. Like I thought they would. I thought they would play really well, even though it was on the road, but they lost by 10 points. So I'm sure many people, I was in the minority saying the Vikings would win, so I can't be too upset. Saints beat the Cowboys. Thought the Cowboys would win. It was obviously a close game, but the Saints look really good without Drew Brees. So I got to stop picking against them. And then I said the Bengals would beat the Steelers. That was more of a passion thing than it was an unbiased. It was more of a passion opinion than it was an unbiased opinion. I just wanted the Bengals to win, and I guess I kind of thought they would, but clearly that was not the case. So that's it for week 4. Let's go into our week 5 predictions. Not much news around the NFL this week so far, other than, you have Antonio Brown filing all these appeals and lawsuits. I'm just so sick of him, man. Just leave. I'm so sick of seeing him all over the place. I don't retweet any of his crap anymore. Why does my voice have to crack on the word crap? I mean, is there anything more pubescent than saying crap and having your voice crack? Okay, I had to cut it just there because I'm really struggling, but I took a drink of water and I'm about to take another one, so I think we're all good. Okay, anyway, Antonio Brown. Yeah, I don't really, I'm sick of seeing him. I don't retweet his stuff anymore. I don't retweet anything about, I don't care. And I know people have to report about it and they have to say it, and it's good, it's good publicity, it's good drama, whatever, but there's always something new. How can you possibly for almost a year, almost an entire year, constantly have something new in your life, or that sounds silly, but constantly have new drama or new issues? Just chill. Whatever, but he's out of the league. I'm so sick of him and sick of hearing stuff about him. So I guess I shouldn't even really be talking about him, but whatever. Oh, and also another thing in the league. I didn't take this in my notes because I think it happened afterwards, but Vontaze Burfict is suspended for the rest of the NFL season, which is awesome because I don't think he should still have a job in the NFL anymore. I don't know why teams keep taking him or picking him up because, he's a decent player, but he's going to get suspended at least 2 games a year? He is always good for one dirty hit every season. You know that. So as soon as if you're a team and you pick Vontaze Burfict up, you have to sit there and say to yourselves, he's going to have at least one dirty hit. If he doesn't get fined, he's going to get suspended. And I guess the fine doesn't necessarily affect the team, but why do you want that as your brand? Why do you want to market that? And why do you want that on your team? Someone who's purposely, injuring other players and doing these awful things and having these dirty hits every year. This goes back to his high school days, his college days, I think. I saw or read somewhere. It's not it's just every now and then, or maybe he gets singled out because he has a few more than the second dirtiest person or whatever. This is an obvious, constant thing that is to be expected from him. So if you pick him up, it's going to happen. And the NFL, I guess, is just done with it, and they're sick of it because they suspended him for the entire season instead of just a couple of games. Which makes me happy because I'm sick of him too. I don't want him in the league. I don't want that kind of play in the league. And I get it. There's going to be people out there who are like, oh, football is not what it used to be, whatever. I'm all for big hits and, the NFL kind of being a little softer than it used to be. But old days or new days, I am not a fan of somebody drilling a defenseless player in the head or neck. I'm not a fan of that. And I understand that injury is a part of football and, it's, if you decide to play football, then, the risks and consequences that come with it. But being defenseless and being already on the ground and being, already being tackled, and then to have someone come in full speed and lower his helmet and hit you in the head, which that's 2 penalties right there. 1 for hitting a defenseless receiver in the head, and 2, lowering the crown of your helmet to do so. I mean, there's no place for that. And you can say, that's how the NFL should be. That's how it was in the old days, all you want. But I guess I don't know what the rules were, decades ago for that specifically. But if there was no rule against it, then there should have been. Because that's why so many people have CTE and kill themselves and do all this stuff. So I'm getting on my soapbox. But the point is that Vontaze Burfict is an awful player. I don't know why he still has a job. I don't know why he's still in the league, but I am glad that he got suspended for the rest of the season. So now if you play the Raiders, you have one less thing to worry about. So I guess that's all I have to say about that, even though I rambled on and went on a tangent about it for 4 minutes. I don't know. But that's all I think I have for the news around the league. So let's just get into these Week 5 predictions. So Thursday Night Football tomorrow, we got the Rams at the Seahawks. Normally I would say the Rams, but after that last game against the Buccaneers, I don't know if that'll be the case. Yet at the same time, maybe they'll have a bounce back game. I always take way too long with these predictions. I gotta make snap decisions. I'll take the Seahawks at home on Thursday Night Football. Then on Sunday, starting at 1:00, I thought we had some London games starting this week. Maybe that's next week, because there's no like 9:30 games on Sunday. That must start next week. Yeah, it does start next week. The Panthers and Buccaneers play in London on the 13th. So anyway, starting at 1:00 on Sunday, we have the Jets at the Eagles. I'll take the Eagles. Jaguars at Panthers. I will take the Panthers. Vikings at Giants. I'm going to take the Giants. So far, we have all home teams. Falcons at Texans. I will take the Texans. Buccaneers at Saints. I'll take the Saints. Bills at Titans. Okay, here we go. Bills at Titans. I'll take the Bills. So that's my first away team that I've taken. Cardinals at Bengals. That'll be a dumpster fire of a game. I guess the Cardinals. I don't even really know who to take there. They're both awful. I guess the Cardinals, though, because I don't think the Cardinals have a win, but they do have one tie. So they're not as bad as the Bengals, technically. Then you have the Patriots at Redskins. Take the Patriots. Ravens at Steelers. I'll take the Ravens. And then you have the Bears at... Are there any 4:00 games? Oh my gosh, I feel like there's only 1:00 games this Sunday. Bears at Raiders. I will take the Bears. That'll be fun to watch. Khalil Mack versus his old team. Yeah, I'm going to take the Bears there. Although I don't know the severity of Mitchell Trubisky's injury or how long he'll be out, but I don't believe he's going to play. I don't think it matters. I'm still going to take the Bears. And then finally, the 4:00 games. You have Broncos at Chargers. Going to take the Chargers. Packers at Cowboys. I'll take the Cowboys at home. I think they're going to win after barely losing to the Saints last week, and that means that the Packers are going to lose 2 in a row. So that'll be interesting. And then Sunday Night Football, 8:20, you have Colts at Chiefs, taking the Chiefs. And lastly, Monday Night Football, October 7th, 8:15 p.m., Browns at 49ers. You know I'm taking the Browns 30-13. So that's all I got for you. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're listening to this or watching it on YouTube, feel free to give it a like and a comment and let me know your thoughts on anything we talked about today, whether it's Week 4 in the NFL, Week 5 in the NFL, the Browns versus Ravens game, the Browns versus 49ers game, or anything about the Browns and the NFL in general. I would love to hear from you guys, interact with you, and talk about this kind of stuff with you. But for now, let's just get a win on Monday and make there be one less undefeated team in the league. I'm sure we'd all really love that, and it would also be really nice to ruin that for the 49ers and end their undefeated season. So, thanks again. I appreciate you listening, and I will see you all next week for what is hopefully another Victory Wednesday. Peace!